Hi, I'm Catherine Llewellyn, the host of the podcast. You can find out all about Truth and Transcendence on truthandtranscendence.com. And you can find out all about me on beingspace.world, where you will find my online coaching offering, as well as my UK-based workshops. The Freedom of Spirit workshop for liberation and empowerment, the Pellower Radical Shift in Consciousness workshop for spiritual expansion, and transformational coaching for exploring the mind-body-spirit connection on the expansive path. You can also support the podcast by actually making a donation. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. Today, clenched fist syndrome. I wonder if you know what that is. It could be that only I and the person I was talking to the other day use this particular term. So, what this means is when we're in a time of particular difficulty or danger or fear, we clench. And by clenching can be focusing very intensely, marshalling all our resources, thinking very hard about the situation. It can be a physical tensing, literally physically running away, or physically tensing the body in response to the difficulties we're experiencing is a kind of a primal reaction, the clenching that can occur. Anyone who's been through a lot of trauma, I think, will agree with me on this, that the clenching of the body, which actually affects all of the organs of the body, affects how the brain is working, affects our speech, affects all the systems in the body. But there's a reason for it. And the reason for it is when we're in danger or in a difficult situation, we need to bring everything to bear. It's an emergency situation. We need to bring everything to bear and focus on that, concentrate on it, and work on it, and put on one side, perhaps temporarily, some of our needs for rest, relaxation, and flexibility. Because we're on the defensive. Or we may be on the aggressive, but in the body, the sensations and the behavior in the body are very, very similar between the defensive and the aggressive. And we may need to stay like that some of the time, more of the time than might normally be balanced for us over an extended period of time. What then happens is once we're through it, so we're through the trauma, we're out of the terrible relationship, we're out of the terrible job, we have got out of the horrible court case because someone took us to court for something horrible, something we didn't do. I've got a friend I mentioned in a previous episode where an ex-girlfriend of his, a year after they broke up, reported him to the police as having done sexual misconduct against her. And he's now spent several years waiting for them to decide whether or not to charge him. And it's been a nightmare for him. So he's experienced some of this tensing and clenching. And this is one of the things he's shared with me. He's discovered you just cannot stay like that forever. You can't stay like that until the situation's been resolved necessarily. But actually, in a lot of situations, you can. Because in a lot of situations, it's a short-term temporary thing. So, you may have heard my guest recently, Guy Morris, talking about complex PTSD. If you've experienced trauma consistently, day in, day out, for a very long period of time, you might then get what can be called complex PTSD, which means this clenching. One of the ways of looking at that is that this clenching has been occurring for an extended period, and the clenching itself has caused damage, even though at the time the clenching was necessary to protect you. So what can happen is we come out of the trauma, out of the bad situation, or it can even be coming out of a period of overworking, which actually creates a traumatic effect on the body and the mind and the heart as well. And when we unclench, so we're clenched, like a clenched fist, and then when we unclench, all the sensation comes back into the hands. I don't know if you've ever had that situation where you clench so hard and then you let go and the sensation comes back in and it's painful to begin with. That's what can happen when we unclench after a very difficult situation. And that then can feel as if suddenly, after we thought we were through it, suddenly we become ill or unbalanced or wobbly or uncertain, or we suddenly feel like we're being traumatized all over again, because when we unclench, all of the emotions and the feelings and the physical distress all come up to the surface. So this is the clenched fist syndrome. It comes into play when we unclench, and then we think, oh my God, my life is falling apart. I thought I was through it. I thought I'd survived it. But actually, you have survived it. You've succeeded. And this experience you're having now, after letting go of the clenching, is actually healthy, or it might be healthy. I'm really quickly going to just say there may be situations where someone's come through something very, very bad, and then they unclench, and then they have all sorts of symptoms, and actually that's not a good thing. So I'm not going to make it a blanket generalization here that it's always a good thing. But for most of us, this experience when we unclench can actually be viewed as a healing process, a clearing process. So if you're lying in bed at night and you're having memories of what happened, and you think, "Oh God, I'm traumatized. These memories are coming up. I'm just damaged by this forever." Consider the possibility that these memories are coming up because your consciousness knows that you have got through this, and you have the strength to be able to look at these memories, to breathe into yourself, come into yourself, observe them, and just let them run through without it causing you any damage. And every time you allow that to happen, the power and the strength of those memories gets less. If you resist them, the power and the strength gets more, because then you are going back to clenching again. So this episode really has a health warning on it, which is only take these words experimentally from me, because for some people this isn't the way to go. But for you, if you feel able, when you're unclenching from whatever the situation was, and it could be you've retired from a job you've been doing for years, where you were working 80 hours a week, never getting enough sleep, always drinking too much coffee, too much wine, maybe smoking, not doing enough exercise, all of which is a form of clenching. Then you come out and you start to rest up, and suddenly you start to feel terrible. You feel like you've been poisoned, you're exhausted all the time, you're irritable all the time. That doesn't mean you're sick. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you necessarily. It might mean that this is your body cleansing everything out. Because the body has intelligence, and your consciousness has intelligence, massive amount of intelligence, more than we can ever understand in the conscious mind. So it could be that this is what's supposed to be happening. And then you just find things to do to help yourself through it. And if you need to talk to someone, you talk to someone, but not because there's something wrong with you, but because you'd like some support. You'd like someone to listen to you when you talk about it and say, "Oh my God, this happened. I felt like this." And they listen, they accept you, they're understanding, and you go, "Thank you for listening, thank God for that," and go back to your life. And the same with the physical body. When we start stretching, let's say we've not done any stretching before and we try some yoga, oh my God, it can be painful. Now, the pain does not mean that we shouldn't be stretching. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with us. It simply means that because of all the clenching, when we start to unclench, there's a clearing that has to happen. There are tensions that have to melt away. So yeah, lean out perhaps to some of the more difficult yoga postures. Take it easy. I do this all the time. I did yoga this morning and there was a posture and it was really painful. So I just adapted slightly and then found I could still release tension. And maybe one day I'll be able to do that posture exactly as he's suggesting it. But I didn't say to myself, "Oh, there's something wrong with me. I can't do yoga." Or "There's something wrong with me. I need a treatment. I need muscle relaxants." You know. So the clenched fist syndrome. Do you or somebody else have this going on at the moment? And if so, could some of what you're experiencing actually be reframed as healing and clearing and making space for the new, fresh you to come through? And if it's a friend of yours or a family member, can you help them to do that without judging them, without taking over, and without barraging them with solutions and ways to fix them? Could it be that the mind and the consciousness knows exactly what it's doing, and it's simply a question of being there and giving it some support? So, have fun with that. Thank you for listening. That's all for Truth and Transcendence for today. Please give a 5-star rating and a thumbs up. And if you took this in on a video channel, please say something about what I've been talking about today in the comments, because that's really helpful for other people who've watched it or who are thinking of watching it. I always talk about things from my point of view, and I try to give different angles on it. But of course, I'm only one human being, so I've only got one angle. But other people's angles coming in is really helpful and juicy. So thank you again. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It really helps if you give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, a review, and share with your friends. If you're looking for transformational coaching or an intensive transformational weekend workshop experience, I can help with that. You can actually help the show by making a donation. Until next time, take care.